Critical, please explain the share rate in detail and how it ratchets upwards. Thank you for asking, Critical. One thing I do want to say is a update to the white paper is coming soon. Now, this update is, it mainly just includes extra information because people wanted extra information. It includes other good stuff. It includes the stability pool feature that is way more cool than stability. You know, there's no real cool name for it, but maybe there is. But very important, the share rate calculation in the white paper was wrong. And maybe it was like a month and a half ago, a developer let me know, and it never got into the white paper. So I caught that recently, and I was just like, whoa, whoops. So how the share rate is calculated, the new share rate was wrong, and it was fixed. There's two formulas that adjust the share rate. Okay, so what are shares? And Genius shares are, you know, the more shares you have, the more piece of the pie you get for Genius's performance. Every day, Genius, from the beginning of launch, Genius will be pumping out at least 27 million Genius tokens per day. That comes out to like 4.2% yearly. And that is, about that is paid out to shareholders. Every day there's revenue that people can make by performing, you know, certain functions. Which, by the way, these functions that I talked before about functions for Genius that anybody can run and they get Genius in return, sort of like miners, sort of like Bitcoin miners. But I do want to say the purpose of this is mining software in the future, like Ethereum mining software, Pulsechain mining software, or Pulsechain software for validators. People are going to want to run the software version that is going to get them extra mining rewards. You know, I used to be in the mining industry for Bitcoin, and that was fun. I love brute force stuff, so that was fun. And thankfully I was a big Linux nerd, yeah, when I was younger. But what I'm getting at is this actually helps the Genius ecosystem, and it will help more people become aware of Genius. All right, so the shares. So what are the shares then? When you hold Genius shares, you're getting a piece of that revenue. Cool. Now, when you have Genius shares, the only way to get Genius shares, shares of the Genius Smart Financial Contract, shares of that revenue, the only way to get it is to get the Genius token itself, put the token in the slot machine, which is, the slot machine is metaphorical for the Genius software, and the software, tell the software how many days you're going to mine for. How many days your Genius tokens are going to be locked up in the form of shares, and how long you're going to have those shares for. So interesting, interesting fact, by the way, the amount of shares, remember, Genius has to last for at least 50 years and theoretically 100 years. Technology will probably be extremely different in 50 years from now, especially blockchain technology. And there might be an exodus prior to that. So for all of you that are holding onto your shares for more than 12 years, this adds a lot of security there. Want me to talk in hex terms? Well, a hex doesn't have that. So for all of us who have the largest stakes of hex, we're either making the worst investment in our life or the best. But I think there's a lot less risk with Genius. We'll see. So with shares for Genius, the amount of shares that will be around is a very large number. It's in the quintillions, thousands of quintillions. Who knows how many? It's a super large number. And in Hex, you have T shares. So just a little side note, since I told you what the shares are, not how it ratchets up though. But what we start with will be called Q shares, kind of like IQ. Q shares, quadrillion shares. The best time to get them will be in the beginning. So every day, so shares, to get Genius shares, to get a piece of that revenue, you have to have Genius token. in the amount of Genius token you get versus some bonuses you get, bonus shares that you get based on how much Genius token you're using, how much time in the future you're going to mine for. Based on all that stuff, you end up getting shares. And those shares, they cost that time that you're promising. They also cost the amount of Genius. There's a cost to them. And that cost is your time and your money, your value, your Genius. So, so that cost increases over time. It only increases over time. Similar to Hex, except the cost is guaranteed to increase over time. So every day, there's always an increase. White paper says more about that. So yeah, the price will ratchet up more than Hex, faster than Hex. And, you know, if Hex were to do that, I think it would be a big problem with Hex. As Hex is developed, as Hex, the software for Hex runs. But when it comes to Genius, we had to have different tokenomics, work with that and balance it. And it is beautiful. Like I say, Genius is a financial masterpiece. Decentralized financial masterpiece.